Everybody comes to the table with a unique set of health circumstances. We talk about that all the time. Health is a very personal thing, and your habits around health are very personal.
All day long with patients, we are talking about health habits.
Yes, all day long.
We are talking about ways in which people can make these small changes and pour into themselves that take time, but aren't, so complicated that it really takes that much effort. Yes, it takes effort. Yes, it feels like work, but these things are totally doable, right?
Yes. And I think a lot of people feel like changing their health or, recovering from injury or illness or whatever they want to do is this massive mountain to climb. And what we try to do and what has worked for us is break it down into simple habits and routines. So it's attainable and it's simple and it's measurable, little bite-sized bits that just breaks down to having good routines that are going to support you in your day.
Yeah. So people always ask us, they say, do you do this stuff? This homework that you're giving me, do you do it? What do you do to keep yourself healthy? And you and I have come up with a lot of things that work for us, but it wasn't always this way. It wasn't always easy. We have absolutely both struggled within our lives and our routines and come up with things that work for us, but not for lack of it's being hard.
Well, and what I've realized is I didn't arrive in this place overnight. This took a long time.
Yeah.
This took a lot of fine tuning. It took a lot of mistakes and lessons and figuring out what was going to work best for my life. And ultimately that changes with seasons and transitions in your life as well.
It
so
sure
you're
does.
sort of constantly adjusting and, just sort of like, I always think about
fine tuning
and like mixing on the board, figuring out what the best combination of habit and routine is going to be in that stage of your life.
I always say it's constant reassessment.
Always.
Yep. You don't just arrive and all of a sudden you have everything
You're
figured
like a picture
out.
of health.
Yeah. No, you try one thing and maybe it works or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it sticks for a season. Mm-hmm. It's constant reassessment. If something's not working, then you just try something else.
Yeah. And you just don't have to do it all overnight.
Right.
You can do it in small steps. You can tackle one issue at a time.
Yep.
And that issue could take a year to resolve.
Yeah.
Everybody comes to the table with a unique set of health circumstances. We talk about that all the time. Health is a very personal thing, and your habits around health are very personal.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So something that will surprise people is that I did not always rest and recover as much as I do today because I put so much emphasis on it and I value it so much. It was not without.
That's one of your big health habits.
It's one of my big health habits, rest and recovery. It's something that I do probably the most consistently out of anything that I do. And so but it was born out of not doing it, right? It was born out of going to work and then coming home and being with kids and feeling overwhelmed and feeling drained and feeling like I didn't have energy for them and like I wasn't bringing my best self to the table. And maybe going to work and then being with friends or being with family and just going from one thing to the next left me feeling a little bit in lack. And like I was lacking energy, like I was lacking enthusiasm for life. And I just am somebody who can't keep going. One, because I'm an introvert, and one, because I don't have as much innate energy as other people.
Sure.
And so for me, I was like, what? I cannot live like this. What am I doing? I am here to help people and I give people all these tips about how to feel the best in their body. What can I do better for myself? And so this practice of rest and recovery, you know, the specific one that I want to tell you guys about is my afternoon meditation / nap that has been such a game changer for me. I will make sure that when I'm done seeing patients or when I'm done with one thing, I will lay down, because I prefer to lay down for, you're supposed to meditate sitting up. That's not how I do it. For 15 to 20 minutes. It's usually about 20 minutes. And I start with some breath work, and I inhale for the count of 2 and I exhale for the count of 4. And I do that for about 2 minutes. And then I will kind of move into something else, whether it's a mantra or, you know, a manifestation or something else. And honestly, for the last 5 minutes, I usually fall asleep.
Yeah.
I set an alarm. It's 20 minutes. I will do this at the clinic or I will do this at home. My kids know that when I walk through the door, if I say I'll be back in 20, they know what I'm doing. If my house is full of kids and it's chaotic here, I go put my headphones on and I turn on the spa music and I shut my door and I set the timer for 20 minutes and I spend my time recovering so that I can show up for them as the best version of myself rather than the mom who's just seen 20 patients and is tired.
How long do you think it took for you to come around to that habit and really like make it a habit?
I mean, years.
Yeah.
Honestly, years.
Yeah.
I think that I've been doing it consistently for the past 2 years, and it has made a huge difference on my mood, my enthusiasm, my energy for life, my energy and presence and wherewithal for my family and friends.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say, like, hold, I need to push the pause button.
20 minutes.
20 minutes, I'll be back. But it has helped me so much. And so that's one of my health habits that I think is so important for me. And I encourage other people, if they feel like that's something that resonates with them or would really help them in their life, I think it's a beautiful thing. We can't keep going and going and going and doing and doing and doing. We have to rest sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the message that we get, is to keep going.
We do.
You know, societally.
Yeah.
But
the more you do, the better you are.
sure. But that is so profound for people, is to stop and rest during the day.
Yeah.
What's another health habit?
So my second one is journaling, writing. I did not always write. I did not always put pen to paper. You know, I think we do more so when we're in school. That's how I learn.
Oh, yes.
I learn by writing. And so I have to see things in my own handwriting. And I think I journaled, you know, probably in my early 20s, but you know, it kind of gets lost on you after a while. And while I was writing on my computer, I was not writing in my journal per se, or writing on a piece of paper, or just using a pen and seeing things in my own handwriting and getting this download. And I could tell, you know, when I think about mental health and I think about all the things that go through our mind every day that affect us and that we have to deal with, you know, we all have hard things. We have hard things in relationships. We have hard things that we're grappling with, things that we're thinking about, processing from our past, from our present. And I was like, what is missing here? I feel like once I started writing these things down, and journaling for me is not paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. Journaling for me always starts with my mantra. I write, I get to feel great, because it's true. That's a true statement.
Yeah.
And I can tell myself a different story, but I like to tell myself that story.
Yeah.
And so that is always how I start. And then I might work on my self-limiting beliefs. I might work on my values. I might look at what fuels me. Or I might just download about, you know, whatever's going through my mind, or I might write an encouraging letter to myself. I might write about what I'm grateful for. But I can tell you that pen to paper is like the cheapest therapy I've ever received.
Oh, I would say so many people say that.
Yeah.
And it is different working on a computer than writing it down.
Yep.
That's so true.
Yeah. So that was something that was really a missing piece for me in my life. When I think about my mental health and my emotional well-being, it has absolutely enhanced my ability to process, move through, and respond to myself emotionally. So I feel very thankful and grateful for that practice. And again, it's simple, it's cheap. How many times do I do it? Once a week at least in the beginning of the week, maybe a couple other times a week. But this is not something that takes long. We're talking about 20 minutes
even
to 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm saying like a 20-minute rest and recovery and 5 to 10 minutes of journaling. Now I'm at like, I've poured into myself for 27 minutes in the day. It's not, we need to do that.
I think you can ask that of yourself.
I think we can ask that of ourselves. I think it's okay. And then my third health habit that I feel like is really, really important to me and something that we weren't doing, our miss was that we were more meal planning, like coming up with recipes and making it so complicated.
You as a family?
As a family, Jake and I would like be like, well, it's Taco Tuesday and, you know, who knows, roasted chicken Sunday. And we were like planning out the meals, but it was too complicated. We have busy lives. Our kids are going to sports at different times. They have different amounts of homework. I come home a couple nights a week pretty late. And so meal planning was not working for us. But what has worked for us really well is food prep.
So preparing ahead of time. Having everything ready to be able to throw together a bowl. Yeah.
Or tacos. Or, you know, just a plate full of vegetables with a little bit of meat. Like having the meat pre-cooked in the refrigerator.
So not just deciding these are the meals that we're going to have, but actually preparing the meals ahead of time as much as possible.
Basic food. It's not even saying that this is the meal we're going to have. We always have tons of vegetables that you could either roast them or throw them into a soup or chop them up and make them into a salad. So we're not saying what the food's for. Just have a lot of vegetables in the refrigerator. Have meat that is cooked. The key is cooked. You don't want to have to come home and cook. So we have a steak and a chicken in large Tupperware, always cooked. And then we have rice and quinoa in large Tupperware, always cooked. We have beans always cooked because the other thing is we don't all eat the same. So Eloise is a vegetarian, you know, for the past 2.5 years. Daphne and I love meat and have to eat it. And Jake is meat light. So we're all different.
Yeah.
So, you know, Daphne and myself will eat the meat. Jake will eat a little bit. Eloise doesn't eat it, but I don't eat rice and beans.
Yeah.
So having all the basics there to say we're having tacos, but we can do it all these different ways.
Everybody's going to be taken care of.
Everybody's going to be taken care of, and it can be fast and easy. So yes, there's some cooking that happens a couple times a week, but it just can be thrown together in a healthy, in a moment's notice way.
Yeah.
So that has really helped us stay on track with eating anti-inflammatory for ourselves and everybody getting what they need, right? But actually planning the meals and looking up different recipes was too complicated for our family.
Yeah, I think that's complicated for a lot of people. I think that's the stumbling block for a lot of people.
Yeah, they're like, okay, you want me to eat this way? Like, what do I...
Feels so daunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are my 3. What about you?
I mean, I think about the habits that I try to keep up with all the time. And there are 3 that I know have been really pivotal. The first one that I can think of, and is probably the biggest one, it's also my biggest lesson, is thinking about prevention rather than reaction. And what I mean by that is investing time and energy into doing things well for my body before I get hurt or I get sick or I'm not feeling good or I'm feeling run down. And I've learned this over and over again because I was the person to just keep going in the past. And I have a lot of energy. And so I would really like grind things out and just keep pushing, and I enjoy it. But sooner or later I would run out of steam.
Run yourself into the ground a little bit.
And I felt that. I've learned that lesson physically with exercise and movement. I've had 2 knee surgeries. I've had a stress fracture in my foot. I've had lower back issues my whole life. And a lot of it stems from the fact that I was pushing through pain or injury and not listening to my body. And I really wasn't putting in the work to prevent injury. I was really just reacting to it.
Yeah.
And those were painful lessons because you get sidelined pretty quickly when you get hurt or when you get sick. And so I've really had to reframe how I look at my exercise. I've had to start cross training more. So doing things that I don't maybe have as much passion for, like mobility work, and yoga was always something that I really struggled to do because it felt slow to me. And now I just tell myself, this is my investment in myself so that I can recover, so that I can prepare my body to be able to move in the ways that I want it to move. I've also had to come to terms with the fact that I don't have unlimited energy, that there is a limit. And
you thought you did.
I was the invincible one. And then as I've gotten older, also recognizing that our bodies change as we get older and things change. So I put a lot of effort into prevention in terms of eating good food, nutrient dense food. Chinese herbs and nutritional supplements are a big part of my life. And I know that they're not for everybody, but for me, I get a huge benefit out of supplementing with specific things, especially when I have different demands going on in my life. If we are, in the middle of cold and flu season, I will rely heavily on Chinese herbs and nutritional supplements so that I don't get sick because we're taking care of patients. I don't want to take the time out of my life to be sick.
And you know what to do to prevent it. You would rather prevent it than have to deal with it.
I know what to do, so I need to invest the time into doing it. Rest is a big part of prevention. And I self-admittedly used to burn the candle at both ends. And, that was great. But I can't do that the way that I did 10 years ago. And I know that when I'm not getting adequate rest, I'm chipping away at my foundation, essentially. Sleep deprivation has a huge impact on immunity. So, why would I take all these supplements and these herbs so that I didn't get sick and then not rest? It took me a long time to come around to all of this, but I've really tried to make prevention, like my strongest tool in my arsenal. And that applies to mental health as well, because as you were saying, and as you say all the time, if you're not feeling good mentally, it has a big impact on your physical health.
It does.
I have used therapy in the past. When my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, I put myself back into therapy because I knew that I had to prepare and to show up the best way that I could. And I wanted to prevent myself from feeling like I wasn't able to show up. And so I really try to apply this habit in every realm of my life. I mean, another really important habit that is somewhat new to me, it's probably like just the last couple years, is my first hour of the day.
Oh, I love this one.
I call it the first sacred hour. And that is, I'll come back to that, but the first hour of the day, I try to cut out a lot of unforeseen demands on my time or sort of like unforeseen stressors that come from checking email, responding to text messages, being on social media, and watching the news. So I try to take all the technology out of my life in the first hour of the day.
Do not look at your phone.
I mean, I used to do that all the time. I would wake up, I'd pick up my phone, and I'd start scrolling through social media. Or I would start checking my email and trying to fire off responses to emails that, came in at God knows when during the night. And at one point, it dawned on me, I'm like holding my phone and I'm looking at social media and I'm like, I am watching other people's lives and totally missing out on my own present life in this moment. Like, what am I doing?
It's not helpful.
Also, is any of this stuff urgent? Absolutely not. Like I'm asking for 1 hour in the beginning of my day.
Well, and it paves the whole way for your entire day.
Yes.
It sets you up.
And this isn't new. A lot of thought leaders and health practitioners, they talk about, the first morning of the day. And at some point, somebody had referred to it as being like a sacred time. And I just was like, yes, this is a sacred, so now I call it my first sacred hour of the day. And when I wake up in the morning, I don't touch my phone. I try to incorporate a little bit of movement in the mornings. That's when I try to exercise and move. Meditation, it's when I do my meditation. And I often will incorporate using my mantra or practicing my visualization. And it seems like a lot in 1 hour, but really it's just like a couple of minutes for those things, and then meditation for 20 minutes and, movement for a half an hour. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I just poured into myself for an hour.
Well, you set yourself up for the whole day.
Yeah. And I'm working on my inner dialogue. I'm thinking about things that are inspiring, and I'm thinking about how I can be excited and bring excitement to the day and show up in a way and be responsible for my energy. And that has been a huge, huge deal for me. I mean, I would go to work in the mornings and I'd already be stressed out and rushed and a little bit overwhelmed because I was doing these other things and responding to other people's demands on my time. Yeah. And then I was short on time, and then I was stressed and I was rushed. And I realized all of that work that I had done, all that important work, was so low priority. I mean, I shot off this email in response to somebody thinking, oh, good, I'm so productive. That person's not going to respond to me for like 10 hours. So why did I do that? What was my hurry?
Yeah.
And I sacrificed time to be able to set myself up for having a good day.
Yeah.
And so that has been a huge lesson for me and a very important habit, my first sacred hour of the day.
That's great.
My last habit is cleaning up my sleep hygiene.
You've become a better sleeper. I'm so proud of you.
I never prioritize rest the way that you do.
No.
And
you're getting better though.
I mean, I'm like a classic night owl. My whole family stays up late. We're all night owls. And I think it's kind of unfair that for night owls, they get like the short end of the stick.
You feel like it's unfair.
Well, I mean,
what's unfair?
You get this like energy at night, and then you want to sleep in a little bit later, but the world starts early.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, I kind of had to own my routine and that it wasn't serving me well. And, despite being a night owl, I still had to own that and respond appropriately. And so, I used to stay up pretty late, like 11 o'clock or midnight. And I didn't sleep well. I didn't used to sleep very well. And so I would not sleep well. And then I would wake up early and like bust through my day. And this would repeat and repeat. And over time, you just accumulate all this sleep debt. And,
yes.
And sleep deprivation is actually like a pretty big deal. One of the things that changed my mind about this, and I just read his book recently, Matthew Walker. He's like one of the leading experts on sleep, and he wrote a book, Why We Sleep. And it's actually just like a terrifying book because you find out all this stuff about what sleep deprivation does to you. But it was also so validating that I had made all these changes and that I was prioritizing rest and recovery because sleep is so important.
It is.
And
it's health.
It's health.
Sleep is healthy.
And it's also okay to admit, and this was hard for me to admit for some reason, that we need to recover.
Yeah, you're not just a human doing, you're a human being.
Human being.
And you get to be and you get to rest and recover, and that is doing something.
Yes.
I say that to patients in the clinic all the time. Doing nothing is doing something. Do you really think that you were put on this earth to just keep going and going and going and doing and doing and doing?
And both the first sacred hour of the day and cleaning up sleep hygiene for me, both of those are totally in line with that first habit of mine, which is prevention rather than reaction. Mm-hmm. Because
full circle.
Yeah. And I just, it very strongly occurred to me that I should invest in my health by rest and recovery and that sleep would benefit me in the end. And I felt much better. I mean,
it works.
It works. Well, I try to go to bed by 10.
Yeah.
And I try to get 8 hours of sleep. And I feel energized. I feel more inspired. I feel more creative. I feel much more productive.
A lot better. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that if you give yourself time to rest, recover, sleep more, do nothing, your productivity will go up, right? People
Yeah.
are like, I don't have time for that. That is not true. You will be so much more effective of a human if you take this time for yourself.
And people think sleep is a luxury.
Yeah.
The hard workers of the world often will say, you know, I don't have time to sleep. That's the first thing that goes. And it has occurred to me that you will not be successful because you didn't sleep. You will be successful despite the fact that you don't sleep. And eventually it will catch up. And I felt that in my body. I felt that catch up. And so that's been a good change.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, all these they're just small habits that we do
These are small tweaks
that add up to big, impactful change.
Yeah.
And that's the message that we try to give people,
Absolutely.
that I want people to know. Yeah.